Welcome. This is the first U.S. side event of the 21st session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. I think it's fitting that we are leading off with a session on youth engagement. Young people, after all, are our future. The COP is a key gathering of leaders working to address climate change as it must be addressed, not as nations acting alone, but as a world unified against this global threat. The road through Paris can take us to a place where the world has better access to energy services through sources that are clean, reliable, and more affordable, and the worst impacts of climate change are avoided. And I'm encouraged about the prospects for success in Paris and beyond. The vast majority of the world's people and the vast majority of the world's political leaders now recognize that the climate of the Earth is changing, that the changes are caused mainly by human activities, that the impacts are already evident in increased prevalence of extreme heat, more wildfires, stronger storms, bigger downpours, and a rising sea, and that the future harm from climate change will be much smaller if the world acts to address the causes than if it does not. That recognition was reflected in the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan that President Obama announced in June of 2013. It was reflected in the joint announcement by President Obama and China's President Xi in November 2014 of the independently developed commitments of these two countries, the two largest economies in the world and the two largest emitters of carbon pollution, to unprecedented reductions in those emissions in the post-2020 period. And the recognition by the world's leaders of the reality and urgency of the climate change challenge has manifested itself since that historic joint announcement, with more than 160 further countries announcing their own intended nationally determined contributions, INDCs, for emissions reductions after 2020 as the foundation for a new global agreement in Paris. But of course, the expected agreement in Paris will not be an end point, but a way station. The Paris Agreement will be focused on the period out to 2030. Much work will be needed to ensure that the national targets are met and, where possible, strengthened between now and then. And further deep reductions will be needed after 2030 if the temperature of the Earth is to be stabilized at a level that avoids the worst impacts of climate change. It will be the task of the next generation of leaders, you, who I'm addressing now, your classmates and your peers, to develop and implement the additional technical and political measures by which, between now and 2030 and beyond 2030, the goal of emissions reduction sufficient to avoid unmanageable climate change will be achieved. You will do it with creativity, with compromise, and with cooperation. Of course, it will not be enough to avoid unmanageable climate change. Because the climate is changing already and some additional change is now unavoidable, we must work to manage that unavoidable change through investments in adaptation, preparedness, and resilience. The COP meeting in Paris will address this part of the challenge too, above all by developing arrangements for assisting the nations and communities that lack sufficient resources for these crucial tasks. Both mitigation and adaptation will be most effective if all generations work in partnership. It's not enough to have just one generation kick the can down the road to the next. The experience of older generations, the fresh perspectives of younger generations, and the commitment of all generations must come together. I'm inspired by the young leaders that are gathered here today, as well as by the large number of youth tuning in from around the world. You are our hope. President Obama, the whole White House team, federal agencies, and our many partners are doing everything in our power to address this problem within our lifetimes. But as part of passing the torch, 1 year ago, my office, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, announced a climate education and literacy initiative to connect students and citizens to the best available scientific information on climate change. Through this initiative, a number of federal agencies and organizations from non-governmental, academic, and private sectors have stepped up to develop new educational resources, training opportunities, and place-based experiences for both kids and adults. Important progress has been made, but we have a long way to go. I'm delighted to kick off this panel of future climate leaders, and I can't wait to learn about what you accomplish here today and throughout your careers through technology, innovation, and leadership.
Thank you. That was Dr. Holdren, the President's Science Advisor. It's great to hear that message from him. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our panelists and invite them to come up on stage as I introduce them. First, I'll introduce Frank Neapold, who is the Climate Education Coordinator at the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration Climate Program Office. And he is a co-chair of the U.S. Global Change Research Program's Education Interagency Working Group, and he's going to be leading us through this event. Next, I'll invite Gina Fiorelli. She's a sophomore at the University of Vermont, whose interest in climate change began while helping to plan the Wild Center's annual Adirondack Youth Climate Summit. She's also received an Environmental Merit Award from the EPA, and she was recently honored at the White House as a champion of change for climate education and literacy. I'd also like to welcome on stage Jeanette Flores. She is a freshman at Michigan State University. She is a first-generation college student and graduated from Cesar Chavez High School in Detroit. She was born in LA, and she got involved with environmental issues her sophomore year of high school. She was president of her environmental club her senior year. Finally, I'm pleased to introduce Jean-Pascal van Purcell. He's a Belgian professor of climatology and environmental science at the University Catholique de Louvain in Louvain-la-Neuve in Belgium. And he's a former IPCC vice chair during the 5th cycle of evaluation. So please give a warm hand for our panelists. I'd also like to be sure to recognize we have an online audience of youth joining us from Berlin. So thank you so much for joining us from Berlin, and be sure to hashtag AskUSCenter. I want those questions from you after we have the session. Thank you. Frank.
Thanks very much. Just a sound check. Can everybody hear me? Fantastic. So it's a great honor to be here, and I think it's fitting given both what the science advisor to the president and the president himself and others have said about the importance of the next generation. And I think that when we started the White House Climate Education and Literacy Initiative last year, one of the commitments of that initiative was to do exactly what we're doing here. So we in education believe very strongly about actually fulfilling our commitments, and this is a demonstration of just that. I also want to thank the partners that made this possible. So at the bottom of the screen there, you can see an extensive set of partners who helped shape this event, contribute to making it happen, support students to be able to be here, but then also to have the impact of that much wider through an initiative we started called Youth for Climate. It's a simple acronym, a simple hashtag, it's our name, and we're using it for today and beyond, and we've been using it for a month now. So if you have questions or want to contribute to this or extend this or join this initiative, please by all means use the hashtag #HashForClimate. This is a very strong social media approach, given that we have 1 billion youth plus, and the people that work with them and support them and raise them and prepare them. That's what this audience is. So the online audience, this is for you and for all those who are here. So let's jump into the panel real quickly here. So I think, we had the bios, but I think, Gina and Jeanette, if you wouldn't mind just telling the group here and those who are online how it is that you came to be here. Gina, please.
Yes, so I am an environmental studies major at the University of Vermont, but I also am an intern at the Wild Center, which is a natural history museum in upstate New York. But we work to organize youth climate summits internationally and across the United States. So that is really, my work with youth engagement on climate change has been through that, and I've been working on this for about 4 years now.
Jeanette?
Hi, I'm Jeanette Flores. I don't have that much experience into environmental stuff. I really have like a year, like starting off, like learning about it. So it all started like in high school when I joined my environmental club and I became the president of it. And after that, I just started like using it like persuading environment stuff around my house or around my community, like trying to make people get more involved with it.
So I think that we're going to continue to dig into exactly why these two young women are with us. But I think one of the things we're doing is we're blending together different resources, events from across the United States and across the world, where we've been engaging youth in a series of different, by those partners. And one of them is a series of youth climate summits. And there's a video that we're going to show just to give you a sense of this. And we're going to show you, this isn't just for today. We've built a large comprehensive collection of resources that we want to share with you as an offering to what we do in the US for other countries in partnership. We'll be showing a video. There we go. And you see the website where that video sits.
It's hard for humans to act towards a problem if they themselves are not affected.
I care about climate change because I think about my kids in the future and what are they going to have to go through, what is life going to be like for them.
We can't just dump it on a different generation because the time to act is now.
We have the privilege to ignore it, or we have the privilege to change it.
Everybody needs to be involved because you can't expect one person to change the whole world.
And no matter where you call home, whether it be the Seattle area or New York State, we're all a part of this movement.
The Seattle Youth Can is a program between the Seattle Aquarium, Woodland Park Zoo, and the Pacific Science Center. All the youth come together and we talk about ways how we can change and make a difference in the environment.
We're excited to have as many young people as possible determine and decide that this is an issue that they want to tackle, and they should know that they will not be alone.
We've built a summit around peer-to-peer learning, so it's college students who design the summit, who create workshops, who become experts in certain areas.
And we have great plenary speakers come in, and they are climate scientists, artists, business professionals.
It's really been a great tool for me to understand climate science and bring it back to my school community and implement it.
It's relevant to everyone because whatever you're interested in, whatever you love, it affects that. It affects everything.
Being able to hear about those backyard efforts is really a great thing.
I thought it was really empowering to have a bunch of students working together.
I guarantee if more people see us picking up things and recycling, they will also help us as well.
Every student needs to come to this and use the tools from it.
I am in Go Green. I go around to each classroom to make sure they put paper in their recycling bins, they pick up trash.
Mostly what we do is raise awareness for what's happening to the world around us because a surprising number of people don't know that much about it.
The Climate Summit showed me what things in the real life, first person.
So now we're going to try to keep creating events like this.
It's 7 in the morning, so it's 7:40 in the morning.
I believe that youth can bring all of their good ideas together to create good solutions for climate change.
It's really inspiring to me to see all the youth so active about climate change. They've got the energy that we need to really make a different world.
Youth can do so many things. We are the now, we are the future.
For some reason, humans have constantly ignored these voices.
Together we can make our leaders take action.
Make a difference. Put something through, change.
Like, why is it taking so long for everyone to unite and take a stand against this?
Together, we can all help the Earth.
There's a reason why you are here today, and there's something valuable and important that you can bring to this kind of movement.
Happy crowd. And so part of this initiative in a partnership with the Association Science and Technology Society, too many acronyms, Science Technology Centers, we also had a series of events in 4 different countries, and we're going to show you a short video just from that part of the initiative from Argentina. All of these are archived on the website we'll get into later on. But again, this is not about just today, and it's not about just you in the audience, remote or in person. It's also about those who are not here and sharing them with because I think as the president very eloquently said, you know, bringing the full talent of our next generation forward into this space is a critical piece of our ability to enact what we aspire to do here today. That was a good setup. And there we go.
En Argentina, en la ciudad de La Plata, el 2 de abril de 2013, se produjo una inundación sin precedentes. Toda la población se vio afectada de manera directa o indirecta. Un grupo de estudiantes, acompañado por sus docentes, decidió investigar más sobre lo que había sucedido.
Hay que tener en cuenta que este proyecto se realizó en una ciudad que sufrió una gran inundación, donde hubo muchas muertes y fue un momento caótico. Fueron días caóticos de mucha desesperación y tristeza, y pudimos salir adelante, pero cada vez que llueve la ciudad vuelve a revivir todo eso, todo ese pasado. Cada vez que llueve varios días los sentimientos vuelven a aflorar, y vuelven a aflorar la incertidumbre y la desesperación de no saber muy bien cómo actuar.
Lo que ocurrió en La Plata hace 2 años fue realmente muy fuerte, y además de haber ayudado solidariamente en ese momento, los chicos no se quedaron con eso y quisieron seguir investigando y trabajando.
Para saber más sobre nuestro tema, buscamos información en diferentes lugares. Principalmente nos ayudó un ingeniero hidráulico de la Universidad de La Plata, que hizo un informe sobre ello y nosotros sacamos información desde ahí mediante su ayuda. También sacamos fotografías de las zonas inundadas, diseñamos entrevistas y encuestamos a 300 vecinos afectados. Además, como estudiantes secundarios, participamos en diferentes ferias de ciencias donde podemos compartir nuestro trabajo con diferentes estudiantes.
Este tema de la inundación que estamos trabajando con los chicos que pasó el 2 de abril del año 2013 y que generó el trabajo, en realidad hemos encontrado, incluso desde la facultad, hemos encontrado que tiene relación con otros eventos. Por ejemplo, en la misma ciudad de La Plata, eventos no de esta intensidad, pero sí muy importantes, pasaron en el año 2008 y 2002. O sea, que hay antecedentes de esto, lo que nosotros podemos llamar un cambio en la dinámica de la precipitación. Pero si uno agranda la escala, encuentra que en la región, incluso podría decirse también a nivel global, el cambio climático se está manifestando en la forma en que está cambiando la forma de llover, ¿no? Y ya hay estudios que están marcando esta tendencia, que el cambio climático, sobre la variable climática que más está impactando, es sobre la precipitación.
Siguiendo las hipótesis de nuestro trabajo, decidimos investigar más sobre el cambio climático y la relación con la inundación de La Plata. Descubrimos que hay 2 hipótesis muy fuertes en cuanto a por qué se genera este cambio climático, y una habla sobre que el humano es quien genera este cambio, y otras sobre fluctuaciones geológicas y astronómicas que también ocurrieron a lo largo del tiempo.
Más allá de estas posturas del cambio climático, es importante pensar ideas concretas para mejorar la vida del planeta y nuestra vida.
Y todo esto en conjunto me hizo ver que el cambio climático nos afecta a todos de una manera u otra.
Para hacer más visible este tema, Mundo Nuevo invitó a los estudiantes secundarios a pintar un mural en las puertas del Museo Interactivo Angares, junto con artistas de la Facultad de Bellas Artes, en una jornada abierta a toda la comunidad.
Bueno, y podemos decir que el cambio climático es un problema de todos y que requiere de una acción cooperativa y colectiva. En este sentido, la popularización de las ciencias cumple un papel fundamental en la construcción de puentes de diálogo, de encuentro, de participación entre vecinos, alumnos, organizaciones, especialistas y el Estado. En este sentido, bueno, esta obra, que es el mural, queda como testimonio y además nos interpela en el rol de ciudadanos que debemos asumir, ¿no?, en el respecto.
Creo que es importante recordar a las personas la solidaridad que estos hechos provocaron. Para generar esta memoria es que estamos haciendo este mural. Y además nos hace darnos cuenta de que no pasa solo acá, sino que también ocurre en el resto del planeta. Y así podemos involucrarnos en proyectos como este.
Thank you very much. So let's get into the details of this a little bit more. One of the things that I think, just from your perspective, Gina and Jeanette, that you're here in the climate conference in Paris, largest climate conference of all time. You heard what the president said, you've heard what the science advisor has said, but in your experience with your peers and the groups that you've worked with, what do they think about this issue? Do they share this issue as important as it is what we've heard here in your experience, in the events that you've been in? Do they share that and see that perspective?
I would say yes, we do share that perspective. Students are ready to take action. We have been ready for a while now through the help of climate education, but we are looking to world leaders throughout the next 2 weeks and beyond that to really take action. You know, we're not just negotiating climate change here. Our future is being negotiated. I think it's important to remember that. So students are recognizing that climate change is an issue that will affect them, and they're ready to take action, and they're looking to world leaders to take action as well.
Jeanette, what do you see when your community in Detroit?
Yeah, I'm from Detroit, and compared to Gina, not a lot of people around me know the problems with climate change. Like, I didn't even know about it until a year ago, until I got involved and I put myself out there and found about what Environmental Club is and what's going around me. So I'm pretty sure other people, they don't want to go out and try to look for a solution themselves. So they don't really know what's going on around them. And that's what I think is the difference between difference between.
I mean, maybe just to help you there, the activities of organizations and partnerships and events to bring this forward in your community. I mean, so you know, some of the communities that you're working in are vulnerable to different impacts. So what's happening in New York State and rural New York State is different than what's happening in Detroit. But I mean, what you did there, were you surprised to learn that the climate change was happening? It's already happening, and its impacts are extensive. I mean, was that something that you just weren't aware of until just a year ago?
Yeah, I wasn't aware about it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people aren't aware of it because I know in Detroit, a lot of problems that climate change brings to them is a lot of people get asthma. And I'm pretty sure a lot of parents don't know that because of climate change and because of their environment, that a lot of kids are getting asthma. So if I think like, oh no, it's because they're born like that. No, it has to do with something more than that. So, yeah.
So, I mean, and picking up on that is, you know, that I'm going to steal something from the Google education evangelist. And he asked, and he said, you know, let me ask you a different question than the one you're usually getting. You know, you're both in college, you both have aspirations to do something with college, but instead of asking you the usual question of what do you want to do when you grow up, it's a more interesting question, I think. And that question is what problems do you want to solve with your education, with your preparation, with your work? What problems do you want to solve, and what are you planning to do to get there? So, you know, why don't we start with Gina and then go over to Jeanette?
Yeah, I think as Jeanette was just saying, there's a disconnect between the climate science and how people feel that it relates to them. A lot of people feel that it doesn't relate to them when it really does. My future goals that I want to achieve and problems that I would like to work on would be to connect the dots for those people, for individuals who feel that climate change doesn't affect them when it really does. I think that a major part of doing this would be convening youth to discuss climate change so that they're able to get the climate education and then they're able to feel empowered to take action on it. My work with the Wild Center, Natural History Museum of the Adirondacks, has been creating youth climate summits in different places throughout the country so that students do feel empowered to take action and they understand why it's important to them.
What about you, Jeanette?
For me, I'm going to college, but not for environmental justice or like for environmental anything. I'm going for food and business management. But now that I realize a lot of like what climate and everything like environmental's happening is gonna affect me in the long run, because I want to open like in a cafe, and the reason I want to do that is because I want to like spread diversity, just through food and like different cultures and all that stuff. But climate change is gonna affect that, because what if like later on there's like
Food is a problem, yeah. You can't
food.
provide certain types of food, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
Like
Climate
one day, I don't know, corn is gonna be extinct, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's, I mean, one other thing maybe to think about here is the events. It's an interesting thing to think about because you're kind of, not everyone in the United States, not all youth in the United States. So there are 54 million youth in the United States at the K-12 level and 20 million youth at the college level. 1 in 4 people in the United States is a member of youth, as defined. And I think that you in your classes, your formal education work, you know, how much of it you really connected to what we're talking about here in this meeting is one thing. But I've noticed, so we compiled 36 case studies of youth engagement programs around the United States. And what they hold in true, and some of the partners are in the room with us today, is a lot of them are informal or non-formal organizations working with youth outside of their formal classrooms. So the connection to climate change and the engagement with you is more often coming through the informal institutions, science centers, aquaria, zoos, places of that organization, or community organizations. Was that an important part to what got you here and how you think and feel about this issue?
Yeah, I would not be here today or be so passionate about fixing climate change if I hadn't had those experiences. We learn about climate science in school a little bit, and that's helpful and it's very important, but we need to take it a step further. It's not enough. Climate science, a lot of people cannot relate to. It's the job of environmental educators really to take it a step further and make it relatable to people and to young people especially. That's why convening youth at science centers, which are community anchors, zoos or aquariums, or other community organizations, is so critical because we need to connect the dots for people.
And Jeanette, you had a different experience, so was that important to you, the work that you did with, it was EcoWorks? I mean, that they engaged you in a different way, right? No, the role of organizations that were not in part of your formal schooling in helping you understand, appreciate, value climate change, its impacts, and what you can do to address it. I mean, the organizations that were beyond your formal classroom work, right? I mean, how much of it did you get in school?
Yeah, I didn't get much knowledge about environmental stuff from class. It was all on like after school programs or like me going out and joining like Saturday organizations, like cleaning gardens and stuff like that. But through EcoWorks is a nonprofit organization that I joined in the summer. And through there, I learned how to like spread the word to others by art. And that's like a different way people probably don't know that they could do to spread the word.
Awesome. So I think, you know, what we're going to do now is listen to a little music, a little ad hoc here and here. If we could show the Detroit video, Gina, we're gonna jump over the India one just because we got a little bit of our time compressed at the beginning of this, technical difficulties, and then we're gonna segue over, and the reason Jean-Pascal is with us is to reflect on the importance of this, given your role in the IPCC and the UNFCCC space, and the role that you see in watching these videos and listening to the students and your previous work. So we may just jump right there if we don't, are we on? Oh, there we are. So this is the event, one of the events in a different part of the country, in Detroit.
Climate change, because I think about my kids in the future and what are they going to have to go through, what is life going to be like for them, and what are how is this going to impact them?
Because we're all living here. We're all involved in this earth. We all live here, so we all should help here.
Our world is so important and it's so sacred, and I think we need to learn how to take better care of it.
Everybody needs to be involved because you can't expect one person to change the whole world.
We're excited to have as many young people as possible determine and decide that this is an issue that they want to tackle, and they should know that they will not be alone.
Because some of you in here are going to invent the next great thing to make the planet an amazing place, and then some of you here are going to figure out how to use that great invention so that what we thought of here today can actually make the difference that we're designing to do.
I care because people are dying every day, including people in my family too, because of the environment.
I have asthma myself, so I'm trying to stay alive basically. So basically, what I'm doing is have my mom walk to work. Like,
I have a family member who actually has cancer, and her doctors believe that some of the reasons, some of the causes of her cancer have come from pollution in the area that she lives in. And
wish that the plants, like the big three, would find a way to filter the smoke that's being put into the air.
Nobody wants to breathe bad air. That's just basically, like, that stuff stinks.
Youth can do so many things. We are the now, we are the future.
We go and set up green teams in schools. We facilitate youth-led, youth-driven engagement.
I am in Go Green. I go around to each classroom to make sure they put paper in the recycling bins, they pick up trash if they see trash on the floor.
My first and most important is to encourage the students in King High School to be more involved.
We have a program in our school with recycling. We have Go Green School, so we have different bins in each class.
I guarantee if more people see us picking up things and recycling, they will also help us as well.
My message to the world leaders on climate change is that we shouldn't give up on our future. We should keep working and try to get more people involved.
Thank you for letting me be aware. Thank you for letting me express myself. Thank you.
Together we can make a change as a community to affect our next generation.
The long-term goal for what we're doing is to create the next generation of green leaders.
Together we can make a change. Together we can all help the earth. No matter what, no matter how small, no matter how big, we can do this.
You know, but you can do something because we need everyone. All hands on deck. Now is the time, you know, generation. Now is the time, take action. It's your time to shine, generation. Now.
We can make it, we can fight. No giving up now, come on now. Recycling, let's go.
Go green!
So, Jean-Pascal, your reflections from what you've seen here and what you've seen there, and hopefully you'll go in to explore this further. So thank you for joining us and making the time to be here.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I've always thought that youth were a very important element of the climate movement. Actually, I brought this small shoe here, obviously from a young person. I got this when I left Brussels 2 days ago from young climate activists who couldn't march in Paris, as you know, and they gave me this to bring it to the COP. So, and I asked them to give me a small one from a young person because they are the future. I mean, you are the future generations who will experience the climate that our generation has unfortunately left to you. I mean, we are trying here at the COP and elsewhere to make it as inhabitable as possible, but still, we have impacts already, as the IPCC reports have shown, with a 1 degree Celsius warming, and the temperature will continue to increase and more impacts will come. We are trying to limit the number of impacts, but there will be more impacts on your generation, so you have a very big stake in this. But you also have, and the videos have shown it, a lot of energy and new ideas and possibilities to affect the course of humanity. You can also use language to talk with your peers that I cannot, for sure, use in the same effectiveness. And so it's very important, as one of your colleagues said, to have all hands on decks and to have you on board to come with new ideas, to come with the energy that's not blocked by prejudices and the ideas leading to inertia that are unfortunately in the minds of many adults who think, no, it's too difficult, it's not possible, we cannot change, we have always done it that way, so why change? How can it be done? I mean, many young people don't have those mental obstacles in their heads, and they can think about totally new things. And this is, of course, also important in a scientific context. I hope that some of the youth watching us will become climate scientists, maybe, or scientists or engineers or business people, because everybody's participation is needed, looking at solutions, innovative solutions. I mean, there are plenty of new things to invent, new practices, new technologies, new behaviors. And I'm sure that with the help of the youth, that many things can change for the better.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much for your comments. So given our time, perhaps we should go to questions that are in the room. And then we have questions that are either coming in through social media or coming in through our embassy in Berlin. So let's start with the room.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have our online audience, which, by the way, was Frankfurt. I made a mistake earlier,
Frankfurt.
so sorry for that group. We're going to bring them up first, and they would like to direct a question directly from Frankfurt to the panel. So let's bring them up on screen.
Frankfurt.
And sorry, the rest of you, if you could get your questions ready, and I'll come around with the mic.
We can see you.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you and see you in Frankfurt. Can I have a question, please, for our panel?
Yes, of course. What can we do to take action for a deforestation-free future?
Deforestation.
Okay, so what can we do?
Did you understand the question?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part again? What can we do to take action on deforestation? And repeat the second part.
What can we do to take action for a deforestation-free future?
Okay, for a deforestation-free future. Do we have any comments from our panelists that have worked on deforestation at all or forest issues?
So I think, given we're about youth engagement here and the role of youth in the positions that whatever they are, deforestation, carbon reduction, adaptation, resiliency, from my perspective, is to continue to raise that as a priority, to continue to make sure that if you see that as something that is critical, what I've seen in many of the youth engagement models that we looked at, the youth, I'm thinking about the climate generation engagement model, where they actually have youth go and talk with their leaders, not writing letters, but actually making why they see something is important. And it's very important that what you see as a priority is seen by those who are leaders at all levels of government as part of your education. So I would say that whatever your issue that you care the most about, make sure that those who are making decisions about that issue are aware that you share that priority. That would be something that I've seen from all of my learning and research and watching of other youth and what they say and how they do it. Gina or Jeanette, does that resonate with you guys?
Yeah, I would agree with what you said. Definitely. If that is an issue that you feel passionately about, then don't give up on it. Pursue it, and let it be known that that is something that's important to you. There are a lot of issues that we have to focus on, deforestation being one of them. And really, there's so much that you can do in terms of engaging decision makers or other youth in your schools and your communities to make sure that that is an issue that is being solved.
Great, perfect. Now let's turn to our audience. Let's take 2 questions at a time to give our panelists multiple chances to answer. Just raise your hand if you have a question in our audience, and also online. Anyone watching online, hashtag AskUSCenter, and we'll be sure to convey your question to the panelists. Raise your hand. I can take one more.
Hi, my name is Johanna Bozua. I'm from Earth Day Network, and I'm really interested in your experiences. It sounds like these summits were really a moment for you, and I was hoping to hear more about what sparked your interest while you were there. Was it a specific person? Was it a topic? And how, being in the education world, I want to learn about that so that I can take that forward. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely the Youth Climate Summit, as I said before, I wouldn't be here or on the career path that I'm on without that. So it was, a presentation given by a local climate scientist that impacted me. But what was special about it was that it was related to the area in which I lived in, So it was climate science made relatable to me. It was relevant to the issues that I cared about. You know, I live in a region in the northeastern United States where snow is a major aspect of our economy, our culture, and our way of life. And just hearing him talk about how losing that is a real possibility for us in the future, really, that hit home with me. And it was kind of like a switch was flipped inside of me. And since then, I would say that the follow through with that has been majorly important, not just the science, but then I was also provided with resources and tools to create a climate action plan within my school, and really to go out and do the things that I need to do to act on climate change.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's take another question from the audience, and then maybe we can go back to Frankfurt if you have another question. So get your question ready in Frankfurt, but we're going to take one more from our audience here first. Raise your hand if you have a question.
Hi, my name is Gloria Mazula from Malawi. My question is, I would like to find out from you. I've seen you're doing a great job, and one of the panelists said about unity, working with everyone because climate change affects everyone. So I would like to know, like, your involvement with other countries, be it in Africa or anywhere else. Because I don't know if your summits were open to other youth in the whole world or it was just limited, because it would be nice to involve at least anyone, as climate change affects everyone, so that we can share ideas despite of where you come from. Thank you.
So one way to answer that question, would you mind pulling up the website? If you want to pull it up on the India video. What we did, knowing this question was going to come, and the spirit of the UNFCCC, especially under Article 6, is for education, training, public access across countries. And what we did here was we created an extensive set of case studies, events, maps, connecting all of the programs and activities in the United States, and some of them are focused internationally, in one place, in a consistent way, so that if a partner wanted to work with somebody in Malawi, and you or somebody in Malawi wanted to see who to work with in the United States, all that information would be available to you. The email, the program, the background, how to do it, evidence that it works, the target audiences, things of that nature, so that the sharing beyond today was built in for here. On climate.gov, youth engagement, very easy to find, very easy to remember. But all of that information, whether it's something that the Earth Day Network did, who are sitting right next to you, so you may want to reach out and talk to them. But the idea there was really to build collaboration and partnership across the country and across countries, so that the role of youth engagement was accentuated, strengthened, and I think that both the science advisor and the president and other leaders have said that you are, and we are, such a critical role in this, but I think there's so much more to do beyond what we've done so far. And this gives us a path to how to do that.
Great. Anyone else have any reactions on engagement with youth from other countries?
Finland?
Well, you were speaking before about how if you were to create, one of the things that you want to do in your lifetime is creating like a cafe. And involving the different cultures through food. That's one way of, being inclusive and appreciating the different cultures, because, we have, different experiences and different values that we can all bring to the table in climate change, and that's valuable in this fight.
Okay, let's go back to Frankfurt, and we'll get one more question from our embassy in Frankfurt. Thank you to the group that's joining us there. And then we'll have time for just one more question after that, so you can either take one from the audience or one from online, so please send those in. Okay, a question from Frankfurt.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My name is Richard, and I want to know on how you are planning to reducing coal emissions in the world, or at least in the Western world.
Okay, so our youth group in Frankfurt is getting right into the hard issues, reducing coal emissions. I don't know if anyone on our panel has any experience with reducing emissions from power plants or anything like that, but let's turn it over to you guys and see what you come up with.
So actually, this connects to a question. Maybe we should stand back in the light, so the cameramen are stopped having a fit. So there's also a question online that came in, what one thing a kid can do to lower emissions and live more sustainably. So these are related issues. So I know from the case studies that we've looked at, and I'll be interested to see what your perspective is there are a lot of students who are trying to figure out how to increase the efficiency of their schools, to put solar panels on their schools, to join clubs, to actually change the energy that is used and what source it's not being used from. A lot of times in the US specifically is coal. But in order for that change to happen, you have to change something to something. And a lot of programs are doing that. And so I think that's one way to do that. And then also other students are focused on is doing exactly that. But they're saying that that is a concern that they hold, and letting people that care about that know what that concern is.
Yeah, you bring up a good point that to change something, we need something to change too. So the best way, I believe, that we can fight fossil fuels, carbon-emitting fossil fuels, is to have a solution to that. And really, renewables would be a great solution to that. And that, if you were to focus on that, that would be a positive thing rather than a negative thing, which, you know, might be more well received when you're trying to communicate that. And really, I think that our progress in the Western world with, you know, cutting down on coal has been pretty prominent in the past few years. There's less coal plants now than in recent years, and really to back that up, we need to be supporting renewable energies in whatever way that we can.
Great, okay. And I'd also like to point out to folks who are interested in what the U.S. is doing to reduce coal pollution. Next Tuesday, December 8th, the EPA Administrator, Gina McCarthy, will be here to talk about U.S. climate actions and EPA's role, particularly related to the Clean Power Plan. So that might be something that's of interest to our group in Frankfurt. Okay, let's just take one final question before we ask for closing remarks from our panelists. Do we have one final question?
Hi, my name is Victoria. So I'm a high school student. I'm 16 years old, and I do a lot of climate activism. And I know along with high school, it takes up a lot of time, and it's a lot of effort to do time management. And I know when I'm trying to talk to my friends about getting into climate activism, their main question is, well, how much time is it going to take? Like, how am I going to fit that in? So I was wondering if you guys, especially since you're in college, have any suggestions about how to integrate that into like your daily routine and daily life.
What a great question. Fantastic question. Time management. How do you do it?
Yeah, I think we could both agree that time management as a student is pretty key. I would just say that there are so many, you know, we've been talking about how we can make climate change relevant to people. And there are many ways that we can make it relevant to people in their everyday lives. So, you know, as young people, we're usually involved in sports and art, and there's these competing interests that we have that we might not be so focused on climate change because of that. But really, you know, there's so many different ways. And just as an example, as I was talking about before, with you know, having so much snow where I live and having that be such an important part of our culture, you know, if we're skiers or interested in any type of winter sport where we live, climate change is extremely relevant, and we can focus on climate change solutions through that and promoting that idea. I know, Jeanette, you're very into art. That's a thing that you're very passionate about. So, you know, you could communicate your passions about climate change through that, right?
Yeah. And going to what you asked,
I think that people should put their priorities first. So if you're interested into environmental stuff more than like sports or like other stuff, then you should totally go for environmental change.
Okay, thank you so much. Now let's have let's offer some closing remarks maybe to Frank or Jean-Pascal.
So let's start across.
Okay, one thing I wanted to say is that there are many opportunities to be more involved in science and to be curious about the issue. I mean, that's a very good starting point, is to be curious about how the climate system works, how the economic system works, how the energy flows through the economy. And if you understand that, and if you're curious about that, you can become much more involved and know where are the levers that you can act in a future career. And then if you become an expert in one of those subjects, then there are opportunities in IPCC to become authors or to become reviewers, expert reviewers. And it's important to renew the teams working within IPCC to produce those big reports everybody is talking about every 5 or 6 years. And you should know, you all young people watching, that there are opportunities to join the author teams and the expert review teams so as to write the next reports in the future.
Well, what I think is that in order to solve a problem, we should start at the root. So once we all start putting our heads at the same level, like don't think about like, oh no, there's a different solution. Like if we have a same idea and we all get to like understand that, then that's where we can start off a new beginning. So, yeah, I don't see more.
Gina?
Climate change, in my opinion, is the most important issue of our time. Because it's an issue that will affect everyone, everywhere, in some way. So because of that, we need to support everyone in fighting climate change. It's important to recognize that every single person can do something to help mitigate the effects of climate change. And really, I want world leaders to know that students are, they're focused and they're ready for action, and we're looking to you to save our future.
So, I mean, one last thing I would say here is that I think, you know, the president said that they're the first, he's the first generation, a member of the first generation to feel the effects, and also the last generation to do something about it. I would actually take issue and change it just a slight bit. And as an educator and somebody who works with the students as long as I have, I think that they should write them on the first part, but the second part is that the work that we do here and we've committed to doing here, the next generation, the generation after that are going to have to be ready to take that on and connect it to their creativity, their passion, their ingenuity, and their lack of connection to the past. We're able to see a new future here and throw everything we have at it earlier. And I think that that's a critical piece. And I think it's probably apt, given the Indian students and their teachers are watching from India, that we close on the India video. So Georgia, if you wouldn't mind, Georgia, if you wouldn't mind bringing up the India video, and let's close out on the India video. I know that they would love for us to show it. And, but I really want to appreciate all the work that it took to be here today, all the organizations that are supporting this here, now, around the world, and I'm very encouraged to take on what we've been asked to do. So this is not the beginning, it's not the end, but it is a continuation, a step along the road. So it's an exciting opportunity. So thank you all for joining us, and let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Our project is titled
Thank you very much.
The Planet Moves. We'll explain what this means in just a minute. Our project deals with explaining why it is individual action that will save the planet, and hence we present to you our hypothesis. This is our original hypothesis. Reducing carbon footprint by simply spreading awareness. What did we do about this? First, we formed a group which was called Takra for no particular reason, to lend some sort of organizational structure to our team. Second, we created a website. We were very young then, and we thought the best way to engage the masses is via the internet. These are some statistics. We average about 30 to 40 users per month. And now the third and the most important part of our project. We conducted a survey. It's actually wrong. We conducted multiple surveys. Yes, so 30 questions. Questions were from 4 categories: home and energy, methodology, how did we calculate the carbon footprint. There were multiple choice questions. These are 2 examples by which our methodology will become clear. How often do you use the air conditioners or room heaters? Here, very often is clearly the least eco-friendly choice, hence this has 4 marks. Never is the most eco-friendly choice, it has 1 mark. 142. You have a number on screen. 142, we're proud to announce, is the number of households in Lucknow, in many different parts of Lucknow, that we have surveyed multiple times. As much as 5 times per household. There were also certain precautions we took. First, geographical diversity. We did not just stick to one part of Lucknow. Demographic diversity. We wanted people from all age groups, from all economic backgrounds. And this is what we found and what we told them. 30 metric tons of carbon dioxide emitted per year. After informing them of the carbon footprint and what it is, we give them some simple suggestions as part of our